Hello everybody, good afternoon and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Omonia FC versus Manchester United preview and latest Manchester United news. Don't blame me. This is what happens when you're shit and you end up in the Europa League. You get games like this. We've just got to go with it, I'm afraid. We've got to roll with it, as Liam Gallagher would say. So Manchester United preview. We're expecting up to 8 changes for this game, and I think we need about 8 changes for this game. We do also have a bit further update on what we were talking about this morning. Rob Dawson has been talking about the Cristiano Ronaldo situation, so we'll talk about that and why there is a little bit of movement around him in January. Also, the latest Donny van der Beek, and I don't know whether you saw it from the Telegraph, but there was actually a bit of a leak this morning that Casemiro is likely to start against Everton on Sunday night. These leaks get earlier and earlier, don't they? It's like me getting up at 3 o'clock for a wee. Don't worry, when you hit your 40s, it'll happen to you as well. So, Omonia FC, ha ha ha, yes. We're going to get all these Europa League jokes, aren't we? But first of all, let's just start off with that, because it is a preview, and then we can get into the news. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. So look, I think that before we look at that team news and how we should line up, I just want to say, Mark, hope you're having a great day despite the weekend. On to the next one, says Harris. I just can't wait for that Everton game. I can't wait for the Everton game, to be honest with you. I just want to get that played. That's when the redemption arc can start. But who are Omonia FC? What are they all about? They're managed by Neil Lennon, who used to manage Celtic and play for Leicester and Celtic. They lost their first game to Sheriff 3-0, but their last game out was Sociedad in Spain, and they lost 2-1. Admittedly, they only had, I wrote this down, they had 2 shots, and Real Sociedad had 11. They had 29% possession. Their pass success rate was 61, and they played 273 passes to Real Sociedad's 655. So they may have only lost 2-1, but they got absolutely annihilated in everything else. This should be a straightforward win for Manchester United. Clip it! It should be, though, shouldn't it? I mean, you never know with United. Bloody hell, over the years, we're brilliant at embarrassing ourselves. But I think that it should be a game where we have a lot of the ball. It should be a game where we have a lot of the ball in the final third. And it should be a game where we apply ourselves and get a very, very comfortable win. Therefore, it's an opportunity for Ten Hag to make changes. Now, he has got to be a little bit careful because we're playing on Sunday night, but we're playing on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. I think sometimes you can play Thursday night and then you're playing Sunday lunchtime, which is 2.5 days. It's an extra 6 hours on Sunday before we play because we don't play till 7 o'clock. So I think he can drop players for this game who then may not play on Sunday. And what I mean by that is you can start Casemiro in this game knowing he's going to start against Everton as well. And then you can rest him for the following game against Omonia a week on Thursday. So for me, McTominay, for example, gets dropped for this game. Casemiro comes in. And as long as Casemiro does well, McTominay stays dropped for Everton and Casemiro plays as well. But Casemiro's got to play this game because you can't just wait for Everton and then start him. He's got to play. And remember, you can make 5 subs. So what I would do is I would start with this team, see how it goes. And if it does well, on the hour, you take Casemiro off and you bring McTominay on for half an hour. And then Casemiro's only played an hour and then he plays on Sunday. So I think that's the approach to go with. Mark, can I buy your jacket? Says Mikel. It's a nice jacket, isn't it? I've got to say thank you. Thank you very much to the person who... I don't know why I'm lying about it. Thanks very much, Auntie. It is nice. I do like it. But give Palestri and Zidane a chance, says Abania. Well, you could do that, but... As I say, I think what you've got to do in a game like this is I would anticipate you start with a team like that. It's 3 or 4-0 after an hour, and then you start making the changes so that these players that play well can then play on Sunday. Now, going through the team I've gone with, De Gea in goal, I don't really see the point in changing De Gea at the moment. He needs as many games as he can under Erik Ten Hag to find out whether he's going to be an Erik Ten Hag goalkeeper. So the more games Ten Hag De Gea plays, the better. Plus, Dubravka's got a knock. Maguire and Lindelof need to play if they're fit. This is exactly the sort of game they need to play in. I don't know whether Maguire's going to be fit, but with Varane having a little bit of a knock, and there is some positive news on Varane. He drove into training yesterday. Now, people might say, well, that doesn't mean he can play football, but the injury was to his ankle. So if he was really bad, he wouldn't be able to drive. So Varane and Martinez, give him a rest. Maguire and Lindelof, give him a game. keep the fitness levels of your centre-backs up. Same at right back. Dalot had a terrible game against Manchester City. Give Wan-Bissaka a game. If we had an alternative, I'd say that, but give Wan-Bissaka a game. At left back, give Luke Shaw a game. Same reason. Casemiro we've already spoken about. Fred has to get some game time. He did reasonably well when he came on against Man City. He's got to start this game, take Eriksen out of the team for a rest. Donny van de Beek, really weird. We're going to be talking about Donny in a little bit, but Donny van de Beek's got to start this game because Bruno needs dropping. If McTominay needs dropping and Eriksen needs resting, and we're talking about Sancho being dropped and Dalot and everybody else, then Bruno has to be dropped. So Maguire would captain this team anyway, so Bruno doesn't need to play as a captain. Drop Bruno, give Donny van de Beek an hour. Now the interesting thing is, I've been desperately trying to establish what's going on with Donny van de Beek, because there's a story come out today from France saying that Leicester want to buy Donny van de Beek for 13 million and that Manchester United might be open to doing it. There was also a story in the Manchester Evening News during the international break that Donny van de Beek had recommenced training after a knock at the start of the international break. He wasn't even on the bench against Man City. So what's going on with Donny van de Beek? Is there something more sinister? Is he fit and not being selected for the bench? Or has he had another setback and injured again? Either way, it's not looking good. So he's either fit, and he has to be fit if he wants to have a future at Man United, because these are the sort of games he needs to start in. So if Donny van de Beek is not playing on Thursday and has picked up another injury and is out for a couple of weeks, it's over. So he's got to play on Thursday. So I'm throwing him in because I think Casemiro, Fred and Donny are the alternative to McTominay, Eriksen and Bruno, who were collectively dreadful against Man City, so should sit it out. So I would give those three players a chance against a side that they should be beating. And if they play well, they get back into Casemiro should start against Everton anyway, but you never know. The other two have got a chance. Rashford only played an hour against City. It was ineffective. Play him on the left-hand side. He might get a couple of goals from there. Confidence. Rashford needs to play from the left. Ronaldo's got to start this game. You can't treat him like you treated him on Sunday and then say you need to get more minutes into Martial's legs. Rashford's got to start. Give half an hour to Martial again if you want to. Sorry, Ronaldo's got to start. And I think Anthony, I would play for an hour as well and maybe give Elanga the last half an hour, because I just feel like Anthony isn't up to pace. So the more game time you can give Anthony, and he would be another one where I'd think, well, you're going to play against Everton, but give him an hour. So that's how I would line up. And where'd you get the jacket? My auntie got it for me. I don't buy United stuff, so I presume it's probably off the website or something. But I would rather play Zidane over Fred, says Saga. Yeah, but I think you've got to be realistic, mate. We're not the Manchester United manager. He's going to play Fred, isn't he? But I think there's some players that you can start in this game, give them an hour, take them off. There's some players that need the 90 minutes, and there's some players that need dropping, and there's some players that need resting. I think Varane and Martinez need a rest. I think Sancho, Bruno, McTominay need dropping, and I think Eriksen needs resting. So it's a combination of things there. And then after an hour, you give yourself an opportunity to bring Sancho on, Bruno on, McTominay on, take some people off, and have a really big thought think about Sunday night against Everton. So that's how I would go. I guarantee you I haven't picked the right 11, but that's how I would go. And I would expect us to win that game 4-5-0. It'll probably be 3-0. I'll go 3-0, but I think we should be winning that game 4-5-0. There's got to be a reaction, and the reaction cannot be the players that lost to Man City. You've got to kick them up the backside. You've got to give other people a chance. Graham Farrell, thank you for being a member for 27 months. Player of the month, Rashford. Do you lot calling him Thrashford? Chris, that's what we're talking about. Mark, I have a feeling that most of the team that played on Sunday will play on Thursday, and your auntie has good taste, says Mikael Rach. I'll tell my uncle. So yeah, I disagree with that. I disagree that Mikael that most of the team will start on Thursday, because it doesn't make sense. You could say most of them are starting on Thursday from Sunday because they're not going to play against Everton, but you can't go into that Everton game and drop McTominay, Sancho, Malacia. You can't go and drop 4 or 5 players from the derby for the Everton game, but not play those 4 or 5 players against Omonia. Like, if you're going to make changes, you've got to make changes on Thursday And if they do well, take them off with 20 minutes, half an hour to go so that they're ready for the Sunday game. But I think he's got to make changes, and I expect 7 or 8 changes. I really do. Litz says, I'm in a bit of a dilemma. My little brother's birthday is coming up, and his favourite player is Malacia, and he really wants a kit. How do I explain to him I don't want to support the Glazers? Says Litz. I mean, look, at the end of the day, mate, I don't think buying something from the Manchester United store is going to force the Glazers out. It's very much a personal voyage. There's no general... it's not like the protests that are organised. Nobody's, organising don't buy anything. It's just a personal choice people have. If your nephew wants the kit, can't you just get someone else to buy it him and then you sleep easy as well? That's not going to force the Glazers out not buying the kit. To be honest, I just think it's a personal choice that many people have. The Glazers are going to go because they can't afford to build a stadium. That's what's going to force them out, in my opinion. Not the protests, not buying the shirts, not anything else. I think they know they've got to rebuild Old Trafford and they need hundreds of millions of pounds to do it. If they get investment, they'll probably stay. If they don't, they'll have to sell. So I think that's what's going to happen. We didn't stand a chance against City. I didn't go into that game hoping to get anything out of it. We just ain't at that level anymore, says Jamie. Come on, Jamie. Come on, Jamie. You can't just accept a 6-3 loss and say we're not at that level. Man City ain't going to beat many teams 6 by 6 goals. I think you're right if you say Man City are better than us I expected to lose, but there's losing and there's annihilation. We shouldn't have got annihilated like that. That was unacceptable. Play McTominay at centre-back alongside Martinez, says Red Olsen. And Eric Ten Hag needs to rotate the players and give Donny Zidane a chance, says Namiro. Yeah, well, look, I really hope Donny van der Beek plays on Thursday night. I think it's really important that he plays. I'd rather play Ronaldo in the Prem than Europa with the first team. Eric Ten Hag won't play him in both. Let Martial play the Europa, says Joey. Yeah, I mean... I think you make a great point there, Joey, because I really think it's important that against Everton, Martial or Ronaldo start. So however he does it on Thursday will be quite telling, because Everton are quite a defensive side. Even when they beat us at Goodison Park last year, they basically... Didn't they score a deflected goal or something? And then, we were crap in that game. It was where Ronaldo smacked that phone out of the fan's hand, wasn't it? But we were crap that game, but Everton were really crap as well. They're not going to lay siege to our goal on Sunday night unless we're as bad as we were at the Etihad. So I think that Everton's defensive line is quite deep, and therefore... You need someone like Ronaldo or Martial playing up front, not Rashford. We're not going to bloody hit balls over the top. So I think it'd be interesting what he does on Thursday, because if you start Ronaldo and you take him off after an hour, he could start against Everton on the Sunday. On the other hand, if you start Martial and you take him off after an hour, he could also start on Sunday as well. So I don't think we'll learn who's going to start, but I think you've got to give those players some game time on Thursday night and then look at what you want to do on Sunday. But I feel that Ten Hag is leaning towards Martial anyway. Interestingly, I don't know whether you saw this, there was an article by Rob Dawson in ESPN, and basically what he's saying is that Manchester United are braced for another Cristiano Ronaldo transfer request in January if he's not in the first team by then. But Ten Hag wouldn't expect to be getting a replacement for Ronaldo in January, so would resist any bid for Ronaldo. This is just typical of Manchester United. They've created this situation where it's very difficult to take sides. If I'm Eric Ten Hag and the board say to me, Ronaldo wants to go in January, but you're not having a replacement, I can't let him go. But if I'm Cristiano Ronaldo and I want to go and the club's saying no, but then they're not picking me, I'm like, what are you doing? We've created a really stupid situation. And I don't blame Ten Hag and I don't blame Ronaldo. So ultimately I blame the club. They've done what they always do. They just bury their head in the sand and let the manager and the player sort it out, and it will cause a conflict. It's going to cause a problem. You can't not be sympathetic to Ronaldo, who is coming to the end of his career and wants to grab and squeeze every little bit he can, and he's having to sit on the bench. It's like he would probably rather be playing for Norwich than sitting on the bench. Like, he needs to play football. So I completely understand Ronaldo's situation. He's basically been trapped by Man United saying, we're not going to sell you because we're not going to buy a replacement, but we're not going to pick you. And then you've got Ten Hag saying, well, I would let him go if you get me a replacement, which they won't do. So it's a really interesting situation. And of course, when you've got a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, I like Ronaldo. I know some people don't, but however you want to dress it up, Ronaldo is a superstar and he's going to create headlines. So Erik ten Hag's going to have this situation from October to January and January to the summer if he keeps him and doesn't pick him. I mean, even at the weekend, he had to come out with that odd reply that out of respect for his career, I didn't bring him on against Man City. So it's not a great situation for Ronaldo, and it's not a great situation for Ten Hag. The best thing that can happen, though, and I think the most cutting analysis of this is that if Ronaldo starts scoring goals and then he's on the bench, then that would be illogical. If Ronaldo is still not playing well and he's on the bench, that's the problem. At the moment, Ten Hag's got every reason to say, I think Rashford and Martial offer this team more because Ronaldo's not scoring goals. And then you become trapped because Ronaldo's like, well, let me go then. And Ten Hag's saying, I can't let you go because they won't buy me a replacement. And it becomes a bad situation. If he starts scoring goals, he'll get picked and then everything's fine. So the best scenario is that Ronaldo starts scoring goals. However, underpinning all of this, and it says it in the Rob Dawson article, we've had Fabrizio on, we've had Ten Hag say it, Cristiano Ronaldo has been a model professional on and off the pitch at Manchester United, and this is coming continually from the dressing room, from the manager, from the press. So whilst it's not a great situation, there isn't a fallout between Ten Hag and Ronaldo. There is a respect and there is hard work going on. I honestly feel that from Ten Hag's point of view, he probably favours Martial, which means he's got to bench Ronaldo, which means Ronaldo can't play, and then the club won't let him go. So it's not a great situation. Saren says no club wants Ronaldo. You really are a sad little twat, aren't you? Yeah, okay. I shouldn't have even read that. I mean, no club wants Ronaldo. Yeah, of course they don't. Of course they don't. Mark, how do you know Colester but not St Anne's Park, says James. And Trashford and Martial need selling, says Oyen. Oh, God. The kids are out today, aren't they? And Ronaldo needs to fix up his head and prove the world wrong once again, says Taz. Yes. I think if he starts scoring goals and playing well, that is the best solution for Manchester United. Right, let me just block this twat here. You're gone, James. I'm bored of you. So, Varane drove into training and starting place braced. Okay. Casemiro, yes, we've spoken about that. Donny, and I've also given you my score prediction, haven't I? I'm going to go 3-0. I think it could be a lot more than that, but I think I'm going to go 3-0 because you just don't know with Manchester United, do you? You just don't know what we're going to do. You just don't know how we're going to react. If you're going to make lots of changes, which I think we need to do, then obviously we'll be a little bit rusty, but he's got to make changes. I mean, I don't know, and we haven't heard yet what the fallout is. But I think people like Harry Maguire will be busting a gut to be fit for this. Luke Shaw will be looking forward to it. I think if you're one of those players on the periphery, Cristiano Ronaldo, Casemiro, you'll be busting a gut to start this game because you know it's not a very good opposition. You know if you play well, I mean, I would say playing well. If you're Casemiro and you played well against Leicester, and you played the same against Omonia, you're going to look world class, basically. The standard of the opposition is probably League One. They're not even Championship level, I don't think. I think they're League One standard. So the opportunity for these players to start is that you can make yourself look really good. And if you make yourself look really good, you might get a starting place against Everton. So there's a real opportunity for some of these players. Mark says, hi Mark, wishing all the United fans celebrating in the community. Blessed Yom Kippur, says Mark Friedman. Thank you very much. Any updates on Twan Sebi, says Dash. Apparently Twan Sebi and Brandon Williams have got long-term injuries. So, yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but apparently they have. I would rest Varane for this game. Yeah, 100%. Red Olsen's absolutely spot on. Martinez and Varane shouldn't step foot on this pitch unless Maguire's injured, in which case you're going to have to play Lindelof and Martinez, aren't you? But I think Maguire, I mean, to be honest, I don't think Maguire should be fit for this game. He's only a week since he pulled his hamstring or thigh or whatever like that. He probably shouldn't play in this game, but knowing Maguire, he would be so determined to play. It'd be interesting if he does. I think any other player wouldn't play on Thursday, but Maguire, you know, say what you like about him, he does want to play. So I think he will want to play in this game. because he'll sense an opportunity after that game at the derby that there may be a way back into the team. So has Maguire even come back to training yet? If he had an injury where he couldn't even make the bench, will Ten Hag risk him aggravating it, says Brandon. I mean, you know what, Brandon? Again, I've got to applaud what you're saying there, because Ten Hag doesn't normally take risks. But then again, I think Rashford was a risk on Sunday, and I don't think it paid off. So maybe he would risk it. Duncan says, I hope we go for Ben Yedder in January if Ronaldo goes. Top 2 scorer in France for the last 3 seasons and only ever missed 1 game through injury, says Duncan. And any updates on the Sir Jim Radcliffe situation, says Harsh. No. I think in relation to the Glazers selling, it's never going to happen in 5 minutes. It's not going to happen in 5 weeks, and it's probably not going to happen in 5 months. It's going to be a long process. I think we're at the beginning of it, and I think they are going to sell, but it's not going to probably happen before next summer, let alone before Christmas. So there's people who want to buy Manchester United, and they want to buy Manchester United at a fair price. The Glazers have got to set a fair price. Let's wait and see what happens. Garnacho needs minute Ronaldo. Well, you mentioned Garnacho, Cap. What about Pellistri? I think Pellistri's an interesting player. He was on the bench in the Manchester derby, and he's got himself back fit. I think he's part of the Uruguay squad. So, I mean, is Pellistri worth a few minutes on Thursday night? Rashford's limited. Speed is his biggest attribute, which isn't enough to play for Man United. Other players are similar. This is why City dominated it, says Joseph. I don't like the singling out of one player. I think there are numerous players at Manchester United where there are question marks over their consistency and talent. And you can put Rashford in that if you want to, but I think there's plenty of players that also fall into that category. The bottom line is we pay the wages that Man City play, but we don't get the player that Man City gets. That's on the club. That's on the board. That's on the owners. We pay more money in wages than Man City, but we don't get the product or the quality. If I was the Glazers, I would, on Monday morning, I would have had a Zoom call. I would have flown in on a jet, so it would have been a Zoom call, Zoom, and I've got every bloody board member into that meeting, and I stood up. Doesn't matter whether you don't know the offside rule or not. I'd have said, why is our wage bill bigger than Man City's, and yet every time we play them, they absolutely embarrass us? Why are we paying these players at this club the same wage as some of those Man City players, and they're not even half the player? What prats are buying these players? Because they need sacking. And I'm probably looking at some of those prats right now. These things need saying because these things are true. We pay more in wages than Man City and Liverpool, and we haven't got anywhere near the quality they get. Now, you can blame the players because they're not good enough, of course, but who's buying them? Who's giving them those wages? Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo and Casemiro and everybody else. They don't walk up to Carrington and go, I'm here, I want these wages, I want this signing on fee, sign it, I'm here. Somebody agrees to pay it. So, look, we can question the players, of course we can, but at the end of the day, they don't dictate the wages, we agree to the wages. And we pay more money than Man City and Liverpool for players that are nowhere near the level they get. That's bad recruitment, that's bad retention. It's just bad transfer activity from Manchester United, as per. Certain players are like machines that have to run regular in order to function instead of favouritism players, says Mr. B. I will say it again, our team selection on Sunday killed us. Mistake made by Ten Hag, says Luke. I think we would have lost on Sunday regardless, mate. Kira says, what is that lineup? Kira, I wish I hadn't read your chat because, again, it's just Attack of the Idiots by Kira. What is wrong with that lineup? We are playing Omonia FC from Cyprus. We've just been battered in the Manchester derby. What do you want to see? The same team from the derby? You've got to make changes, mate. That is change. These are the backup players. They must be given an opportunity. And the players that played on Sunday must sit on their arse and realise they've embarrassed this fan base and this club again. They need kicking out that team. They need a short, sharp shock, and Ten Hag needs to deliver it, preferably in steel toe cap boots. With Nkunku en route to Chelsea, who is good enough to get our number 9, replacing Ronnie when if he goes, says Alex. Well, look, I don't want to talk about Nkunku to Chelsea, but it is another indicator of just how inept we are as a football club. they overspend on Antony, they overspend on Casemiro, and they think that's ambition. And then they come out and say, we won't do that again. There's no money until next summer. And yet Chelsea, who've had a terrible start to the season, have gone and got Nkunku sorted for January. Like, the football world's changed. When the Glazers took over Manchester United, we were the top of the tree. And we could knock everybody down. Noisy neighbours, get down, sit down, we're the best. We've got Sir Alex Ferguson, he's been here for years, we've got the revenue, we are the champions. That's what we are. Since Sir Alex Ferguson's retired, we fell down the tree, and football has changed. You cannot be successful at football now unless you buy and buy well. There are examples of clubs who've spent money and spent it badly. Put your hand in the air, Man United. But you can't stop the spending. You can't just go, we've spent £200 million this summer, we won't be doing that for a few years. You've got to do it again. Because if you don't do it, you'll never be successful. And what Todd Bowley's doing at Chelsea is, he spent money on Tuchel, it didn't work out. He's now spending money on Potter because he's got a new manager. And Chelsea always used to do this, even under Abramovich. So their manager can never use the excuse that I wasn't backed. They will always get you players. And Chelsea can see the gap between them and Man City, and instead of waiting till next summer, they're going now. They're making moves now. Vardiel's probably going to go in the summer. They've got Nkunku. You know what? I'm going to use the R word, Rangnick. I think Rangnick would have got his Nkunku. I think Rangnick would have got his Lema. And Rangnick was going to get his Akanji. Now, Akanji was a player that probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, United fans would have gone, I don't want him, he's shit. You watch what he's doing at Man City and you go, Pep's a genius. But this is a player that Rangnick had lined up in late February for Manchester United. And he's a Man United fan. So look, I'm not going to sit here and be a hypocrite and go, we should have got Akanji. I wasn't saying that in the summer. No way. It wasn't a glamorous signing. It wasn't the sort of signing I want. But look at what he's doing for Man City. That was a player that Rangnick had sorted out in late February. We'd spoken to him and his agent. We'd lined Akanji up. And basically, the only reason we didn't do the deal is we said, in principle, would you like to come to Manchester United? Yes, I would. Right, we're just sorting out the manager. And then if the manager wants you, let's do it. Obviously, the manager didn't want him. But there was numerous players that we could have got if we kept Rangnick involved. Whether we should have kept him involved or not, you can't lie about that. Ronaldo will not have a good game because the rest of the team will not create. Graveyard shift if Eriksen, Bruno, Sancho, Antony don't play, says Apratam. Could this be the kind of game where you play Garnacho or Martial on the left? Rashford needs benching for his performance against City, says Stephen. Why can't Garnacho or Elanga play instead of Rashford, who in your words needs sitting down, says Rimbic. I think Marcus Rashford needs to play on the left, and you'll notice that I've got Antony playing, who was dreadful in the derby as well. I'd play Antony because of the game time, and I'd play Rashford to get him back to use playing on the left. That's why I'd play those two. Play him for an hour, bring Elanga and Garnacho on, but certainly I would play them. I think that, and I might be completely wrong. He might not make the changes that I'm suggesting there. He might do, but there you go. Do you think selling Ronaldo is a distraction tactic, says Dipra? Look, I'm a cynic. I'm a professional cynic, but my heart's not in it. I think after a bad result, Manchester United are very clever at changing the story. We are Tuesday lunchtime and we're not talking about the derby as much. We're talking about Ronaldo. We're talking about Donny. We're talking about him leaving in January. It's distraction tactics. What does any business want to do? What does a politician do? Like, there's a bad story, that something else will happen tomorrow and everyone will forget about it. It's the way of the world. So Man United, this Ronaldo story is irrelevant. Nothing can happen till January anyway. Why are we talking about the January transfer window? Nothing can happen, and we've got 12 games to play before the World Cup. Oh, Ronaldo's going to leave in January. Oh, he scored a hat-trick. Oh, yeah, he's going to stay. Of course it's distraction. Of course it's distraction, because there's so many games and Ronaldo's fit, and maybe he does go in January. Maybe he never starts a game again, but maybe he starts and scores a hat-trick and Ronaldo's back, in which case we've just been completely and utterly manipulated, so we're not talking about the derby. But the thing is, we are talking about the derby because those players played like they did last season. They bottled it. So hence, I think you've got to give other players a chance. You have to, in my opinion. You've got to. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. I'm sure you've got lots of comments. This game is at 5:45 on Thursday, by the way. It's the genius of the Europa League that Manchester United will kick off in some games before you've even got home from work. So 5:45 kick-off on Thursday night this will be. There will be a press conference tomorrow from Ten Hag as well. But that is your preview. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to go with a 4-0, a 3-0. I'm going to go with a 3-0 win for Manchester United, but I think we should win 4 or 5. Thanks for watching. We're 7 o'clock tonight because I'm doing a watch-along for Rangers against Liverpool on That's Football. And I'm going to be on my Goldbridge career mode on TUSFC FIFA 23 at 3 o'clock. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.